Hello there, I am Fernanda Paiva, Hitchhiking Stars, bringing you some insights about the lunations. So let's talk about the full moon. So there is a super full moon in Gemini that's happening on the 4th of December. So that would be late 4th, very late 4th of December for some places in Europe, early hours of the 5th of December. Depending on where you are in the world. So between 4th and 5th. And this full moon is happening at 13 degrees Gemini. So we have the sun at 13 degrees Sagittarius and the moon at 13 Gemini. And this obviously is the last full moon of 2025. I think there's something a little bit ominous about this full moon because obviously it's the last full moon of the year, but also this in numerology has been in year number 9. So there is a lot of endings that we had to face, that we had to practice, that we had to acknowledge during this year. And as I have said before, full moons, so in the lunar cycle, the full moon is the peak of that cycle and is associated astrologically with culminations, with something becoming really obvious, really big, really visible, really illuminated in our lives, in the same way that the moon gets fully illuminated by the sun. So secrets come to awareness, information that was missing suddenly becomes obvious, messages might be delivered finally, especially after the 3-week period that we had of Mercury retrograde. And obviously Mercury rules Gemini as well. So there is a lot of that mercurial flavor, that sort of Gemini flavor that this full moon is emphasizing. So culmination, awareness, and messages, communication. That will be the Gemini flavor here added into this full moon, into this last full moon of 2025. Now, the communication can be between other people, between us and other people, but it can also be internal. Something that finally clicks, something that we really realize about ourselves. Different parts of ourselves potentially getting in touch with each other as well. I think that could be a little bit of that there as well. Now, there are a few different aspects that I want to discuss that will be happening during this full moon as I look at the chart. And as always, as usual, I like to discuss that. But also the Sabian Symbol. So the Sabian Symbol for this full moon, for the 13th degree of Gemini, is 2 people at widely different points are in conversation with each other by means of telepathy. I love that one. I'm going to read it again for you. 2 people at widely different points are in conversation with each other by means of telepathy. So again, we have that feeling and that flavor of Gemini, reminding you that Gemini in the major arcana is associated to the lovers, which can be about options, decisions as well, not only love relationships, but having to choose between different options. And in that way, having a resonance with the sign of Gemini, which is aware of dualities, which is aware of potentials, is aware that truth is plural, is multiple. It doesn't have to be just one. So the Sabian symbol here, talking about the 2 people, again, as I've mentioned before, for me, it could definitely be connected to actual people, actual communication, actual telepathy that we might be experiencing. But it could also be internal. It could also be about ourselves, the different parts that we have, the different desires that we might have, the different needs that might coexist inside us. So the freedom lover versus the emotional, the need for emotional security And how do we combine the two? Now, usually when we say that in astrology, now we all have splits of all sorts. We all have different drives, and they are oftentimes in conflict with each other. Now, what we say in astrology, and what we see in particular in relationship astrology, is that we tend to project one end. So if most of our charts is made of earth signs or water signs, we tend to identify with the one that seeks emotional connection, emotional security and stability, and give away that need for freedom and space. So we fall for people that are unreliable, that need a lot of space, etc. So this full moon is a wonderful time, not only because, again, it's the last full moon of a year 9 in Gemini, which is about duality, but because of that Sabian symbol as well. There are many things pointing in that direction of integration, of communication, of realizing something. And realizing something on a very deep level, and very intuitive level as well. And I think this is represented by the telepathy idea here as well. And why and where do I see this in the chart is because Mercury, the planet ruler of this full moon in Gemini, is in Scorpio. So we have an air, the element of air is all about communication, it's all about intellect and thoughts, etc., which is what the full moon in Gemini represents. However, the ruler of that full moon is in Scorpio, which is very deep, is all about digging deeper, getting to really know ourselves, getting to really know our motivations, our emotional motivations, and our emotional wounds as well, and the potential for healing those wounds. Now, we can't heal something that we're not aware of. If we keep repeating patterns, if we keep giving it away, if we keep projecting into other people, it's very difficult to heal that. So this full moon could be very much a revelation around those wounds. And another thing that I think is fascinating, and I really see reflected by that telepathy between two people in different points, is that Mercury is in Scorpio and is coming to trine Jupiter in Cancer. They are heading towards each other to form that trine. And trine is associated with removal of obstacles. Now, Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius, which is the sign where the sun is. So we have an opposition between the sun and the moon, but their rulers are coming to trine each other. So I really feel there's something very big here in terms of telepathy, in terms of intuition, in terms of psychic abilities, in terms of realizing something, communicating with the spirit world. And in a way, being able to put the different parts inside ourselves in communication as well. This trine between Mercury and Jupiter also involves Saturn in Pisces at 25 degrees Pisces and Neptune at 29. And again, that Piscean side is very, very relevant and is bringing again that flavor of telepathy, of intuition, of knowing without knowing. Pisces associated with the moon card in the major arcana. And there is something really powerful of that place in darkness and, being in the clouds, or being amidst fog and not really knowing rationally. So although Gemini is usually a very rational sign, these configurations I'm pointing out as something beyond the rational that we might get in touch with, that we might get insights about, that we might get revelations about. And with that as well, the main aspect that the full moon itself does is a square to the lunar nodes. So we've got the moon at 13 Gemini, the sun at 13 Sagittarius, and then the lunar node, the north node, is in Pisces at 13 degrees, and the south node at 13 degrees Virgo. Now this grand cross here is talking about spiritual evolution for me. When I look at it, it really gives me that feeling. It really makes me think of that process of letting go, over rationalizing, over analyzing, trying to control outcomes, trying to calculate, over calculate outcomes, and really learning to trust the process, really learning to trust the flow, and to be able to identify the flow, right? The flow isn't escapism. The flow isn't denial. There is a difference there. Those are shadow aspects of Pisces. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the wisdom. It's the North Node that's in Pisces. So there's something quite spiritual about this full moon as well. And beliefs and understanding and information are very much intertwined. And communication might well be very telepathic. Not only in a symbolic way, but in matter of fact ways as well. So keep your heart, your third eye, your ears, everything open, and see what you can tap into during this full moon, during the last full moon of this year, and see what needs to be gone as well, so you can make room for new energies, for the new year as well. So that's it. That's all I had to say about this full moon. I hope this is helpful, and I hope that you enjoy some wonderful inspirational energies. So take care, and I'll be back soon. Bye bye.